Thanks very much. It's an honour to be here this evening. It's really interesting to hear the Mayor speaking about the investment that Council have made into the infrastructure in Yenda, because this is one of the reasons that this project went ahead, because we have lots of organisations that look at the physical things when a disaster happens. They look at infrastructure and they do all the repairs for those sorts of things. But it's looking after the other things, the things that people can't quite explain, and that's what this project was about. How do we work with a family who 12 months after they return home realise they have no family photos left? How do we deal with all of these issues? This is really the purpose of this project. And it was really a way to highlight that it's not just the fixing of infrastructure, it's a combination of these two wonderful things that help our communities heal. But this healing takes a long time. 18 months later, 2 years later, we're still going. Not everyone's returned to Yenda. So that was really the impetus for this project. And for those of you that don't know, it was funded by Museums and Galleries New South Wales, and every year they fund two projects in the state that involves contemporary artists and a community. And this project was one of those. So it's a very competitive round of funding, and it was given to Yenda and to this community. So it's a really good honour for myself, for the town, for the Griffith Art Gallery, and also for Griffith Council to be involved in a project such as this. I work a lot, probably 3/4 of my practice is working with communities, is going to places where they don't know me. And so I'm used to, in that part of my process, especially in the beginning, is overcoming those barriers of fear, such as art. Who needs art? What's an artist here for? Or who is he here? What does he really want? And that's part of my process, and that's part of my job, is to work with communities and work through that fear. Also, one thing that I'm confronted of is, why do we spend money on art? What's the point of this? An artist, what can they do for us? And that happened here, just like it's happened with every project. So I might be confronted with, we need toilet blocks in Griffith, we need different infrastructure in Griffith, why should we invest in an arts project? And it's always a really interesting conversation to me, because if we look at just the economic benefit of an arts project, and that's one way to look at it, it's not everything that a society needs, but the economic benefits are important. If you look at the last Australian Bureau of Statistics figures, they state very matter-of-factly that creative industries, creative activity in this country contributed $84 billion to our GDP. $84 billion. That is the economic imperative of the arts. If we look at something like the mining industry, $120 billion. We're 2/3 of the way in our cultural practices to contributing the same to this country that the mining industry creates. Yet, I know in my practice and working with galleries around the country that it's always an argument about why do we invest in the arts, why do we invest in culture. But the evidence is there, it's not disputed, it's Australian Bureau of Statistics fact. Also, there are the benefits beyond the economic. There's the social benefits, the environmental benefits, about social cohesion. These are all benefits that we can't even measure with economics. And these are the things that we explored with Yenda Rain. So I was speaking to a community member recently, and they were saying, one of the things that happened was you spoke to lots of different community members, but because of those conversations you had, 1,000 other conversations happened between community members that wouldn't have happened. It was also not necessarily just about the artwork, but the event that we did on November the 9th or November the 7th, I think it was the 9th last year, when the whole town came out, hundreds of people were on the street. And the feedback that I was given from that was that it was the first time there was a mass community celebration since the traumatic events 18 months earlier. So the community felt like a community again, just from the simple fact of being together on the street. So when we try to bring it into a gallery like we have here, all of this work was work that appeared in Yenda. So this projection of the bonfire, for example, was on the water towers, 30 metres tall as you drive into town. And the words falling down were words that I collected from community members over a year of things in their life that they want to let go of. Negativity, for example. Community members stood there for half an hour and just watched this slow cycle of words fall into the fire. One of the biggest challenges for me in this work was to not make a big, showy work that was about razzle-dazzle and big projections on buildings. So I wanted to make something slow and reflective. And it's here tonight, and I'm really grateful that everybody came here, but I also want to say an opening probably isn't the best way to engage with this work. So come back at some time and have a look at the brochure that's there, because it goes somewhat into explaining the reasons behind this work. Also the panels on the board here, and the beautiful work of Harpy Kittle, a local artist who lives in Yenda and contributed the beautiful fish rider image and his thoughts about the floods. So I just want to thank you for coming tonight, and there's something else I want to say, but I've forgotten what it was. I might just end there. Thank you.